Give that a second to kick in. All right, great. So, hello everyone. My name is Clay Plager Unger. I am the Senior Support Manager at Radian Generation, and I will be leading today's training session, which will be an introduction to the Green IT application with a focus on the land developer role within the system. Just point out that please feel free to interrupt if you have any questions as I'm going along. And let's get started. So, what is Radian Generation and Green IT? This is a web app and delivered by Radian. It's the system is established as a system of truth for SOL systems, contractual compliance, land management, and landowner systems. Today, we will be reviewing the user interface, navigation, and focusing on the land tools and features. So, okay. Radian, first off, Radian is an independent service provider focused exclusively on the clean energy industry. We help owners, operators, and developers with a wide range of services, including software and automation, asset management, regulatory compliance, and cybersecurity. So Radian / Green IT contracted with Sol Systems in 2022, and we're now delivering the production system and providing the initial training and deliverables. Today, mentioned we're focusing on the one-on-one training, land control, and landowner payments. So in this session, we'll review the core data features and responsibilities. Some of the basics, this is the application is a web app. It lives on the cloud. It's hosted by Amazon Web Services. You can access it using a standard web browser such as Chrome or Firefox. And the Green IT platform is built upon a role-based workspace. So each user is assigned a role, and each role has specific permissions to enable read and or write access throughout the software. You should all have received welcoming credentials and with a URL to access the application. And if you haven't had a chance to log in, please feel free to. And if you would like to, you can follow along on today's training. When you first log in, you'll see the global map, and this is like the landing page. And I'll just point out a few of the items that are available from this global map landing page. So in the top right, you'll notice your username. You can select your username to update your password. There's also a handshake icon representing My Compliance. This will show you a compliance table filtered for items that are assigned to your user. And there's also the log out button on the far right. On the left-hand side at the top, there's the main navigation menu with a portfolio option. This is a list of all of the projects that are available within the system. And so these projects are, you can access a particular project from the portfolio nav. They're on the global map. Projects are going to be represented with pins on the map. You can select a pin to see which project it is, and then the image is a URL that would take you into that project. There's the map can be filtered based on, by default, we're looking at all resources on the map, but you have the ability, if you only wanted to look at projects that are in construction or under development, the map can be filtered based off of the project phase. And there's also a grid view available here as well. And this is just going to be a table representing all of the projects and some of the key data points for each project. The table here is filterable and exportable to Excel, and there's also a search bar on the top right as well. Okay, so let's go into a project. Does anyone have a favorite project or a project that they're doing a lot of work in recently that we can explore? Okay, I'll just pick something at random here. We can go into Berry Creek. I'm not sure what data is actually available in here, but let's take a look. So when you first navigate into a project, you'll land on the project overview category, and there are a variety of different categories available within each project. So every project is going to have a similar looking interface with all of these categories available in this bar at the top above the project name. And these categories are going to represent different aspects of the project. And they serve as a way to organize the project data. Each project, or each category is going to have similar tools and features available within the category. So for example, vitals and compliance are going to be available across all of the different categories. In a moment, we're going to dive into the land category, and there's a more robust set of features and tools available within land. But in general, every category is going to have similar tabs that are available, and we'll just be filtering the data based on the category. So when we're in project overview and we're looking at vitals, we're going to see we can see these some of these categories are available within the vitals list here. And so we're just going to have a basic overview of some of the key data points for the project represented on this vitals tab. And the next tab over is going to be compliance. So there's no compliance seated in this project. We can check out a different project in a moment, but I'll just point out that project overview would show all of the compliance data from across all of the categories. Moving over to development, again, we see the vitals tab and the compliance tab. This would show compliance filtered specifically for development. Let's hop over to, not sure, I know there's some data here in Ashtabula for land. So we can look at land, and you'll notice that in land, there are some more tabs available here. We can look at compliance within land, and so we can see here's the category land, and we're filtered for this category because we've selected it up top here. For land compliance items, these are going to represent payments that are due based off of land agreements. And now is an opportune time to talk about land. So there are three fundamental pieces of land data um, and that we're tracking within the system. So the first piece is going to be the land parcel, or the actual land, the area of land representing the represented as a parcel. And we'll have visibility on that data from within the APN master list. And so we can see in this project, there's one parcel of land. Here's the APN name, the area, and we can see what status this parcel is at. So this parcel is status signed, and that's going to indicate that this parcel is in a signed agreement. Uh, throughout Green IT, throughout the Green IT app, there's many tables with data, and most or all of the tables you're going to be able to filter them, export to Excel. Some of the tables you will have filtering within the column headers, and typically there's going to be a search bar as well. So if you were to filter the data down in the table, you could export the results of your filter, export that to Excel. And that's going to be pretty standard across all of the tables throughout the app. All right, so the next piece of fundamental data for land will be the contacts, or the landowners, the stakeholders. Let's take a look at the contact list here so we can see what some of the contact data looks like. And we can see that there's one landowner who's seated in this project, Eric Williams. On the contact list within land, we can see some of their land specific data, such as which land entity they're in and any agreements that are associated to them. We'll go into more detail about what that is in just a moment. You can also see the parcels that are associated to the landowner via the land entity, and we can see their contact information. On the far right here, there's like a notepad with a pencil icon in the actions column. Select that. I'll be taken to this contact's, or this landowner's contact profile. And this is the standard layout for a contact within the system. This particular individual is defined as a landowner. There are many different contact types available. Typically, we'll be dealing with landowners. A landowner can be associated to one or more projects, depending on where they own land. And then we're just capturing basic data points for each contact: name, company, email, phone, physical address. These contact fields become very important for landowners in terms of tracking the landowners, being able to stay in touch with landowners. If the landowner is receiving payments, their address is going to may need to align with their W-9 data. And so this is where we capture all of that information. Just take a slight detour here. Well, if we go back, I'm just going to go back to the project here, but I'm going to go forward again to this contact profile. And I just want to show you, if I were to select, so we're looking at this individual this individual landowner's contact profile, we could go to the global contact lists here. This is also available from features, contacts, contact list. And this is the global list of contacts. So this is going to be all contacts in the system, regardless of what type they are and regardless of which project they're associated to. So just for example, let's say a landowner calls and you might not know which project they're associated to. You could go to features, contacts, contact list, search for their name. And we were looking at Eric. We find Eric Williams, and we can see that Eric is in Ashtabula. So then we can go into Ashtabula and we'll go to land, and we can see more information about what's happening with this landowner. Okay, so those are the contacts. The third fundamental piece of land data is going to be the land entity. And I'll flip over to the land entities tab here. I think this is a great interface for projects that have a lot of different land or a lot of different landowners, and you want an overview of what's happening, or you're trying to, the project that you're working in, but and maybe you're trying to find a specific parcel of land or a specific landowner. You can always search for that here in the search bar, and the land entities tab here is going to have entity names, which is typically going to reference the landowner. There's also the parcel available here, and there's also the type of agreement as well. So you could even search for, if you're just looking for an option to lease agreement, you could filter this data by searching for the name of the agreement. Okay, so I might have gotten a little bit ahead of myself here. So what is a land entity? In Green IT parlance, a land entity is almost like a folder that is combining the land parcel, the land owner, any agreements that are associated to that land. And then those agreements, once they're executed, are going to produce payments. And all of that data is organized within the system in what we call land entity. So land entities are typically going to be, for individuals, will typically be last name, comma, first name. And you can always manage the entities here. You can inline edit an entity to change its name. You can add a new entity. This is where we control, manage the entities. So let's take a look. Let's go into one of these entities and take a little bit of a more in-depth view of what's going on. Okay. So now we're still in the Ashtabula project, but we're in this entity view and we're looking at this specific entity. On the first tab within this entity, we can see the landowner configuration that has been defined for this entity. So that means that any land or land agreements that are in this particular entity are going to be defined by this landowner configuration. If, for example, this landowner happened to own other parcels of land with other landowners in it, and they had a different landowner configuration. So maybe on this parcel that we have on screen, Eric Williams is 100% owner and 100% payments recipient, but potentially or conceivably Eric also owns other parcels of land, and maybe he's only 50% landowner on those other parcels of land. Well, that would be a distinct landowner configuration and would require a distinct entity to be able to set up that configuration within the system. So one landowner can own many parcels of land, and even beyond just one project, they could have land potentially in more than one project. That landowner can be in multiple entities. A parcel of land, the APN, has a distinct and defined landowner setup that's determined by the entity. So a parcel of land can only exist in one entity because it can only have one landowner configuration. Okay, once we bring together or once we defined the land and the landowner configuration for that land, we can start to have agreements on that land with that landowner or landowners. The agreement is okay. So the agreement is going to be it's a lease agreement for a particular area of land, the APN, and it's signed with a landowner. There's a workflow within the system for requesting agreements and also requesting amendments. The once an agreement becomes executed, it's going to lock the land parcel in the system, the acreage and the status is going to become signed. That parcel has been signed at a specific area and is in an agreement. The agreement is executed. That agreement is going to have a duration and payment terms. The payment terms may depend on the acreage of the land parcel, which is why that area becomes locked within the system once the parcel is in an executed agreement. And the payments that are generated are going to be based off of the payment terms that are seated in the agreement. They can depend on, they don't have to, but they can depend on the acreage in the land parcel, and they're going to be generated for payees that are determined by the landowner configuration. So in this entity, we only have one landowner, and they're 100% owner, and they're also 100% payment rights percentage. They have 100% payment rights percentage. Okay, the payments are considered a type of compliance. So these are contractual obligations required to maintain the agreement with the landowner that state that certain payments need to be made. And this is where we track those. So these compliance items are, we also have visibility of them at the project level, but within the entity, we can see any payments that are going to be that are available based off of the agreement. So this is going to be specific to this agreement or agreements that exist within the land entity. And so just at a glance, we can see there's there was an initial payment. Obviously, this is the seeded data in here and the actual whether these payments have been paid or not has not been entered into the system. But at a glance, so this agreement is from 2021. There was an initial payment of $5,000, and then there's a recurring payment of $2,880 that's occurring annually for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it's 5-year development period. The first year payments, we can see that they're being offset by 30 days. The recurring payments going forward after the first year are likely going to be based off of the effective date of this agreement. And I'll just point out quickly, I can click on the description of this payment. I'm going to go into, so we're in Ashtabula, we're in the Williams-Eric entity, and we're looking like inside this option to lease agreement, and we're looking at the payment terms. This is where payment data, this is how the payment data is seeded within the agreement to generate the payments. We can see here's the $5,000 initial payment. It's got a 30-day offset. It's a one-time payment, so there's no recurrence. Then there's a development term rent. This is $30 per acre. And this has an annual recurrence on based off of the anniversary of the effective date with a 30-day offset on the initial payment. So, and if we go over to agreement periods, this is going to define the duration of this agreement. So we can see that the agreement became effective on 8/31/2021. It's got a 60-month development period, 5 years. There's also a construction period. This is based off of the construction commencement actual milestone. So right now, we don't know when construction is going to commence. When we do, we'll capture that in the system. That will automatically trigger the construction payments to be generated for this agreement. And scrolling down, we can see that there's also an operations period that's going to be triggered by the COD actual project milestone. Okay, I'll just click back on the name of the entity here, and we're back at the entity view. I can go back into those terms just from here. I can select view edit. So there's moving along on the entity agreement tab, there are 2 tables that are available here. There's the agreement tracker down below, and then up top is the entity agreement table. This is showing the same data, but providing access to different aspects of this data. So the entity agreement table up top here, we can see some of the basic information about this agreement. This is where we would go in to view the terms. Since this agreement is executed, we're not going to be able to change any of this agreement period data. This, I can open this up, but this is all this data is locked because this agreement is executed. I could also add a file here. So this would point to your external file system once that connection is established. And you can create a reference link to the files in your external file system. So if there was a scanned PDF of this signed agreement and it was loaded onto your external file system, Green IT could point to that so that users navigating through Green IT, if they see this agreement and for whatever reason they want to go in and actually look at the physical agreement, they would have a reference link available directly here. Then there's also some assessment statement and recording details that are also available here, starting to get a little bit more in depth. I'll just keep moving since we're covering a lot of ground on this intro session. So this is the top table here. The agreement tracker down below. These agreement trackers, they're available at the entity level where we are right now, They're also available at the project level and the global level. It's essentially it's the same table. It's just going to filter the data depending on what level you're looking at. I tend to find that if you know which project and you know which entity you're working in, the easiest way to navigate around or to work with these agreements is going to be at the entity level. If you're looking for an agreement, you're not sure which project or which entity it's in, you can always go to an agreement tracker at the project or the global level. I'll just show you real quick from features, land, and this is not showing up for, let me pull this up real quick. And I'll make a note to turn this on for you. Okay. All right, I'll just open this up in a new tab here. We'll get this to show up. It should be available for you from land here. It might be available for you there. I think I'm actually in here as a external land agent, so that might be why that's off for me. But nevertheless, from features land, you should have an option called agreement tracker here, and that will take you here, and which is this is the global agreement tracker. And so this is showing all the agreements that are seated in the system across all projects. I will point out that by default, we don't load all of the data in here. So I just selected filter. Some of these statuses are filtered out just by default. So if I select all of those, I could see everything in the system. And we could always search here. So looking for Eric Williams, we can always find where we were just a moment ago from the global agreement tracker. Okay, moving along. All right, so I want to demonstrate what it looks like to request an agreement and show how an agreement moves through the workflow. Actually, apologies for that. Let's pivot to accounts payable. Okay. And I'm going to need to change my user role here. So give me just a second. Okay. There we go. That looks better. Get my tab back over here. Just get rid of that. This up. Okay, features. There we go. You can see agreement tracker. That's good. All right, so let's look at payment manager. So this is going to be available from the features menu. Payment manager. So I'll just point out that the tools that are available from the features menu, these are going to be global across the representing data from across the entire portfolio. From the portfolio nav, you can go into specific projects. All right, so we're looking at payment manager. I'll open that up. Okay. Payment manager is a tool that is designed specifically for tracking and processing land payments. And so typically a land payment is going to be a payment that is generated from an executed agreement within the system. By default, the first tab that opens up here is Open Commitments. There's a simple workflow for organizing payments, putting them into payment collections, and then moving those collections through this workflow to get those payments paid. So payment collection is a tool to put together a group of payments that are going to be processed. So there, there are payments from agreements across the entire portfolio going into the future, but we're only concerned with payments from maybe a specific project or a specific group of projects, and we are most likely only going to be concerned about paying payments maybe that are due next month, or potentially going, 60 days in advance. It depends on how far in advance you want to make a payment. But to group or organize those payments, we use payment collections. And open commitments is for organizing collections. And now I'm noticing that I don't have, just a second, sorry. Just gonna look at this from an admin role. So, okay, well, I guess we're just sticking to high level collections, but this is, and then you might need to turn on some permissions here. I'm not sure which exactly which users are going to be responsible for putting payments together to process those payments. But let me just show you how that would work. So from open commitments, this interface is showing all payments that are active and open, so they're pending, they haven't been paid yet, and they're scheduled, they have a due date, they have an amount that's greater than zero, and they're associated to land. Open commitments means that these payments have not been put into a collection yet. So we haven't started organizing these or getting them ready to make a payment. So typically we were looking for, there was something from Ashtabula. I'll just clear these dates here. So let's maybe look at anything in Ashtabula going forward from today. Filter for that. And so we have a few payments. So maybe we're only interested in this first payment here. It's due in August, but let's say we were getting ready to pay it. So we want to put this payment into a collection. So if I had an existing collection at status draft, I could select from that. I don't. So just add this payment to a new collection. And I'll be able to back out of this in just a moment, but I'll show you how this works. And so we'll take this payment and we'll put it into a new collection. I just gave the collection a name and select submit. So now we've automatically moved over to the draft tab. And so we're looking at payment collections that are at status draft. And here's our demo collection. Open that up and I can see here's this payment. A collection can move from once the grouping of payments has been assembled and you have confidence that they are the correct payments that you are interested in paying, you can move the collection to approved for review. That would move the collection to the next status. At review, see if there's any data in here. There is. Payments are, there's a payment approval scheme based off of project, the phase that the project is in, and then the dollar amount that the approver can approve. Based on that information, a collection contains payments from certain projects. Those projects have defined approvers, and those payments can be approved by the specified approvers. This is essentially providing a second level of review for these payments to approve them. Once all of the payments in this collection, in this group, once they have all been approved, the collection is automatically going to move to in process. Payments that are in process are, there's nothing in this collection, but payments that are in a collection that is at status in process, these payments are being paid. And at that point, we're just waiting for confirmation that the payments have been paid to capture the paid payment details, such as if it was a check, the check number and the date that it was paid. Once all of the payments that are in a collection are marked paid, that collection will automatically move to the archive. I will point out that once you approve a payment, there's no unapproving a payment because that's effectively the triggering action to say this payment is ready to be paid. So you can't revoke that once it's been approved. So, but payments that are still under review before they've been approved, this collection could be rejected. We could send it back to draft, and payments that are in collections that are at status draft can be removed from a collection. So I'll do that now to clean up our data here. I'll just exclude this payment. So now there's nothing left in here. I can delete this demo collection. And now the payment has been restored to open commitments. Looks like there's some test data in here. Let's just take a look at Tom here. Okay, so the first few tabs that are available within Payment Manager are really all focused on getting payments into payment collections, making these groupings of payments that are going to go through the payment approval process in preparation for getting those payments ready to be processed, and with the intent of getting them paid. And then the collection, once everything's paid, the collection moves to archive. Beyond these first few tabs here, there's a tool available here called Payment Lookup. This this is a great tool for finding payments. So just there's many payments in the system, so by default nothing is loaded here. We need to build a query for what we're looking for. The filter has a number of different options. You can look for all payments. Maybe you only want to find things that are unpaid, or maybe you only want to find things that are paid. You can search by when things are due. If you're looking for something that's been paid, you could also search for when it was paid, which presumably is going to be prior to the payment due date. You could also look for a check number, or even find what type of how the payment was made, whether it's an electronic transfer or check. So let's just select all. I just copied the recipient name from the other from that payment collection to show you what this looks like. If maybe we know the name of the payee, but we don't necessarily know when the payments are from, or if they've been paid, or where they are in the process. So if I were to filter for Tom Hines, now we can see everything from Tom Hines, and this is going to go back to the beginning of when Tom Hines signed this agreement. But let's just move forward. And so if we're looking at what's happening in 2023, we can see that this March 31st payment to Tom Hines for this particular parcel, in this agreement, in this entity, in this project, this payment is status active open. You can also see where this is. So we know that this particular payment was put into a payment collection already. So it's begun the process of getting ready to be paid. And we could always select the name of that payment collection, and then we can see where this is in the workflow. So this is pending accounts payable approval. All right. Any questions about Payment Manager? Okay. Let's take a look at some of the another aspect of the land control process and the tools available in the system for tracking land agreements. So something important to be tracking is going to be when land agreements are expiring. So let's take a look at features. This will be available in land and land agreement expiration. Just open that up in a new tab. Okay, so this is the data as Green IT has received land data for seeding in the system, and this is providing visibility on the expiration dates for some of this data that we've seeded. The expiration is going to calculate the take the effective date, and then based off of the duration of the development period is going to show when the agreement is going to expire. So let's see, here we have some of the, just look at this first example here for Schneider Ranch. This is an option to purchase, and this is expiring. According to the data that we have available in the system, this is going to expire in 9 days. We can also see that there's an extension available in the system on this agreement that could be requested from this interface. If the extension were approved, the agreement will be extended. Again, you can filter for some of the data that you're looking for here in the filter. And we can see, so this is providing visibility on when different agreements are going to expire. Also got a table available up here. You can filter some of this data here. So all right. Any other questions? Okay, that's everything that I have in the agenda for today. Be happy to provide any follow-up sessions as needed, understanding that we covered a lot of ground today, a lot of information. It's definitely requires becoming a bit more familiar with just clicking around within the application on your own to get a feel for how things work. So if you have any questions going forward, please feel free to reach out to the support team. We have a ticketing system within the application. From the support menu, there's a new request option here, and you can just fill out this form, and we'll receive the ticket. You can also contact us via email, so you should have the support email from the credentials that you received. I'll provide that in the chat just so you have it there as well. And I could see the phone number in case you would like to call. All right, well, that's everything that we had for today. And if there are no questions, we'll wrap about 3 minutes early. So thanks everyone for your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Clay. Have a good one.
Thank you, Clay.
Thanks.